Is your phone keeping you awake at night? If we look at the trend in sleep over the last few years, in 1955 we slept 8 hours a night, in 1980 7.5, and in 2005 just 6. But what's causing this? It could well be the light that's emitted by technology. The first thing we need to do is understand the retina, the great bank of cells that lies at the back of the eye. It contains certain cells called photoreceptors which detect light and send signals along the optic nerve along to the brain. If we take a slice of the retina, we can see at the back the photoreceptors, and at the front these cells called retinal ganglion cells, which are responsible for wiring the retina together and connecting the photoreceptors to the optic nerve. Most of these are simply passive nerve cells, you might think of them as wiring, but some of them do more than that. These are called intrinsically photoreceptive retinal ganglion cells, which is a bit of an intimidating name, but the most important part is the beginning, the IP part, intrinsically photoreceptive, referring to the fact these cells can receive light. So, when light strikes the retina, these cells too will send signals to the brain. And as it so happens, these cells are most sensitive to blue light, which is going to become important later. So what are these cells for? Well, they're not involved in vision, they're pretty sparse in the retina, and they don't project to any of the visual centres. They actually go up to a little area called the SCN, the suprachiasmatic nucleus, which is kind of in between the two halves of the brain up at the front. And when light strikes the retina, as it's about to do here, the signals coming back to the brain tell the brain whether or not it should be asleep or awake. So here we go, it's excited and it's awake. So it's all beginning to fall into place. Sunlight reflects the time of day, and the retina translates that into signals that tell the brain to be awake or asleep. So let's think about how the sunlight itself changes as the time of day changes. At midday, the sun is shining vertically through the atmosphere, and the amount of blue light is high. As the sun sets, the amount of blue light in the atmosphere falls, and the light appears more red. This causes the cells in the retina to be stimulated less, and after a couple of hours the activity in the brain ceases and it falls asleep. However, let's think about what happens if we introduce an artificial light source, like, say, a phone. The light emitted by the phone is rich in blue light, which is exciting to those IPRGCs. Therefore, the brain's tricked into thinking it's midday, and it wakes up, and eventually when it does fall asleep, that's delayed by a couple of hours, and then when you wake up, because you've fallen asleep later, you end up losing sleep. But how can we solve this? One way is to turn the brightness of the screen down. This reduces the intensity of the blue light and means that we don't receive as much. Therefore, the IPRGCs in the retina are excited less and the effect on the brain is reduced. Now there are other ways of solving the problem. Certain apps, like Twilight for iPhone, reduce the amount of blue light emitted. This is timed to coincide with the rising and falling of the sun. Therefore, in the day, the light will be blue, at night, the light will be red. This fools the brain to a lesser extent than an unaltered screen. So there we have it. Light emitted by screens tells us it's daytime, and so causes sleep deprivation if used at night. Now, we can reduce the impact by reducing our exposure to blue light, either through turning the brightness down or adjusting the colour balance. So, next time you use your phone or laptop or watch television at night, take a second to think about its effect on your health.